Good afternoon, everybody. It's May 30th, 2025. I hope everybody's doing well on this Friday. I want to say thank you to all of the people that have completed that petition on behalf of Jessica Thomaston. So far, I've counted approximately 20 people that have mentioned that they've sent it. So I really, really appreciate it. I'm sure she does too, because this is happening across the country. It's happening to men and women. And this is what they did back in Stasi, Germany. This is what they did back in the 1800s when women reported that they were SA'd by a family member. And then, of course, back then there wasn't medical insurance. It was usually the family paying the medical bills, the psychiatric bills. So they would make a deal with the psychiatrist so the psychiatrist would keep it quiet. Just keep it quiet that, that a family member, a father, had been doing the unthinkable to their girls. And then what they would do is they would lock them away and medicate them as if there was something wrong with them, but there wasn't anything wrong with them. And this is what happens when you speak the truth. The criminals want to discredit you by claiming that there's something wrong with you psychologically, when it's actually a projection. Anybody that does this to anybody is absolutely psychologically depraved, sadistic, cruel, narcissistic, and evil to destroy somebody's life like that, just the way they destroy targeted person's life, stealing their destiny, stealing their wealth. They can't create for themselves, so they have to steal from others. So I want to thank everybody first for writing on behalf of Jessica. I'm in communication with somebody who speaks to her on a regular basis, like almost nightly, and she's so happy. So, and I also want to thank three people that are usually in my live streams, leave comments and stuff. I don't always see, because I'm talking or looking for things or walking away from the screen, the people that are leaving me super chats. And a super chat, for anybody that doesn't know what that is during a live stream or during a video in the comments section, you can click on what's called a super chat to donate money. It could be anywhere from 99 cents to $20, well, whatever it is. Of course, YouTube, I believe, if I remember correctly, they take a percentage. I don't know if it's 30 or 40%, but they do. They take a percentage of it. But I really appreciate it. And those three individuals who have been consistently donating through the super chat is One Dream, One Soul, who happens to be our moderator, HMM, and Chelsea P. Thank you, thank you. The kitty cats were very much appreciated, because all of the money, including anything that's monetized that we receive on a monthly basis, gets deposited directly into the Freya's Cat Rescue checking account to pay for their auto shipments through Chewy.com. That's food, litter, chicken feed, medicine, for the cats and stuff. So, anything like that. And I really, really appreciate it. It's very helpful. So I wanted to thank you both, thank you three for donating through the super chats, and also for completing the petition on behalf of Jessica Thomaston. I wanted to also give you a little bit of a cat kitten update. The tuxedo kitten, who is the first batch of kittens, that is through Vesta. Vesta gave birth to those little kittens. She gave birth to 4 kittens, 2 tuxedos and 2 black kittens. One of the tuxedos, as you know, died as a result of the infliction of harm against the kitten's eyes, depressing the immune system. They were too young at the time, and it died shortly thereafter. The other black and white tuxedo kitten is behaving fine and doing everything fine, jumping around. However, the trauma to that kitten's eyes has not been healed. Whatever trauma was done to that kitten's eyes, the second eyelid, the eyelid that is underneath the cat's eye, is still visible when you look at the cat, on both eyes, not just one, both eyes. The 2 black cats that are left, Both of their eyes are weepy. They're very active, social and all that. Their behavior has improved, but their eyes are still very weepy. Now we go on to Fluffernutter. Somebody left a comment after I posted what happened to the cats and the kittens. And this is somebody who's not known to me. But perpetrators frequently leave messages. And, you know, the truth is said in jest sometimes, but also the perpetrators leave me bizarre comments to let me know that they're part of the club. They're part of the harassment team. Or they know what's going on. And that person wrote, you didn't VACC, you didn't do that while she was nursing, did you? Of course I would never do that. The only people that do that are like the feral cat cartel in New Jersey and Maryland. They would absolutely do that. They have done it before. In fact, they did it to one of my cats that weighed 2.8 pounds. She was a kitten. Absolutely. Yeah, they do that. I don't do that. And besides the fact that I don't have a veterinarian here, for the loser that left that comment, I'm going to take it as a hint that may have been what was done to Fluffernutter. Because Fluffernutter is still not feeling well. She was perfectly healthy. She was living outside. She was in great condition, brought her in, had her babies, gorgeous kittens. And then on May 2nd, early in that morning, they were all tortured, harmed. And of course, when I filed the complaint with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, they completely lied and fabricated the incident report. Said it was an animal nuisance. Absolutely off the chart, bizarre. Tells you how much liars they are since I recorded the call myself and posted it online. Lie, lie, lie. But that's what everybody does around here. Everybody around here lies. It's part of who they are. They don't even know what the truth is anymore. So Fluffernutter still has weepy eyes. I've been giving her, I don't know if you're familiar with Rescue Remedy. It's like a Bach flower essence. So I've been giving her that. I ordered some homeopathic thing for her. We'll see if it works. But it's absolutely possible that somebody stabbed her with something to cause her to become that ill, knowing that she's nursing kittens and that's going to pass through her milk. Is there anything more evil and sinister than that? So that's the update on that. And then today I saw something I was horrified about. I see Popcorn. Popcorn is the black and white cat who, when I moved here, I found him in the garage. He was a little teeny weeny kitten. I found him in the garage and I automatically took him. He had a wormhole in his neck. And I had to get this worm out of his neck and heal him. And he was fine. And then, of course, they assaulted his eye, too. And I've got the before and after photos of that. But Popcorn now is obviously, I'm here 6 years. I was here six years a week ago. Yeah, ha ha ha. Congratulations to me. 6 years. I've survived Jackson County, Kentucky with my psychotic neighbors for 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. I bet they're hating on that. Wow. They thought that I'd be so scared. I'd be so scared I'd be gone already. I would have picked up and left so they could steal my property. But now they're just working their asses off, working harder, harder, harder. So a Popcorn is walking across the front yard. And then behind him, I see 2 other cats. And they were smaller than him. And I'm thinking, I looked at the cat's building. I saw that the windows were closed. Nobody could have gotten out. I'm thinking, who's following Popcorn? I run out there, and he's got 3 kittens, older, bigger than all of the kittens that I have, out there. And I'm thinking, they don't look anything like any of the mommies I have. So he brought back with him these 3 older kittens from another mommy cat somewhere around here. I have no idea. They're gray. And I went chasing after them. I got to see two of them. Anyway, that was unexpected, but I will not be adopting them in here. So anyway, I'm going to follow up on something else. Two things. I just received an email from the person. I requested permission from a subscriber who has given me some information that I would like to share with you guys. 1 second. Let me just keep this up here because I've got two things here. Okay, so I've got an article. First, I want to read to you guys. It's called, and STL, thank you for this article. NYPD, which is the New York Police Department, is probing whether detectives were inside a townhouse during the alleged crypto torture. And this, by the way, YouTube, as this is an article from News 4 New York. You know, the one with the peacock on it. Crime in Courts, published online. It's NBCNewYork.com in Manhattan. New York City, NBC New York obtained exclusive video that shows the torture victim, running down the street after his escape 17 days into captivity and seeking help from a police officer. This article is written by Marc, Santia, Melissa Russo, and Jonathan Dienst, and Jake Offenhartz from the Associated Press, published 2 hours ago. And I'm having the video spinning around and around like for 2 hours. So I haven't had an opportunity to see the video, but I'm just going to read the article to you guys. The so-called crypto king of Kentucky. Let me repeat that. The so-called crypto king of Kentucky, you know, Kentucky, like here, spent weeks torturing a business partner from Italy inside a luxury Manhattan townhouse. When the victim managed to escape, police found him covered in cuts and bruises. NBC New York's Marc Santia reports. Internal investigators with the NYPD are said to be looking into whether the two detectives hired to provide security at the Manhattan townhouse were inside when the two crypto businessmen allegedly completed acts of torture against their partner in a hunt for his Bitcoin password. Sources familiar with the case tell News 4. Two members of the NYPD, including a detective and Mayor Eric Adams' security detail, were placed on modified duty this week after links surfaced to the weeks-long torture of an Italian businessman at the Prince Street townhouse in Nolita. Sources believe the detective working off-duty for the two crypto businessmen also picked up the Italian tourist from the airport earlier this month. See, the plot thickens. The law enforcement sources further indicate the internal investigators are working to determine whether any additional members of the NYPD were hired by John Waltz and William Duplessis, who are both charged in the case. See, crime sometimes doesn't pay, guys. Greed, these are two little greedy effers. They're going to prison. Sources believe the two NYPD members are linked to the crypto businessmen were working without the knowledge or authorization of the police department, and their employment may constitute a violation of departmental policies and procedures. Oh yeah, like they didn't know. When asked if the NYPD detective on Adams' security detail had his employment with Waltz verified, an official at the mayor's office declined to comment further. Oh my goodness, it is not unusual for members of the NYPD to moonlight in outside security jobs while off-duty, though. It's not known whether this particular side gig was approved by the department. Every city employee is expected to follow the law, including our officers both on and off duty, City Hall said in a statement. We are all disturbed by these allegations, and as soon as it comes to our attention, the officers were placed on modified duty. Modified duty. They should have been fired. No, they should have been off duty, period, without salary. The investigation is ongoing. Waltz and Duplessis are both being held on multiple charges, including kidnapping. Yeah, I'll show you. This is what one looks like. This is what a narcissist looks like, boys and girls, men and women. This is what he looks like when he got caught. Thought he wasn't going to get caught. Oh well. A second man is set to face a judge after his arrest in a shocking investigation involving cryptocurrency, kidnapping, and torture. William Duplessis surrendered to the NYPD on Tuesday, accused of holding an Italian businessman hostage for weeks in an effort to gain access to his Bitcoin account. Well, there's a typographical error here. Here, check this out. I don't know if I've ever told you I was a proofreader. I used to proofread stuff for people. Here, wait. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, the 37-year-old Waltz was denied bail following a grand jury indictment Thursday. He has been jailed since his bathrobed arrest Friday outside the luxury rental on Prince Street. The judge said the grand jury indictment would remain sealed until his arraignment set for June 11. Waltz didn't appear in person Thursday. The Italian tourist who escaped after giving up his Bitcoin password after a weeks-long ordeal, poor guy, arrived in New York on May 6, allegedly lured there by John Waltz and another business partner. You can't even trust your damn business partners. So greedy. One of the detectives brought him to the Nolita home. Duplessis surrendered to the police earlier this week and is awaiting his own indictment. On May 6th, they allegedly lured the man, whose name has not been released to officials, to a posh townhouse in Manhattan's Soho neighborhood, one of the city's most expensive, by threatening to unalive his family. And Soho is beautiful. It's really nice there, guys. The man said he was then held captive for 17 days as the two investors tormented him with electrical wires, forcing him to smoke from a crack pipe, and at one point dangled him from a staircase 5 stories high. He eventually agreed to hand over his computer password Friday morning, then managed to flee the home as his captors went to retrieve the device. The victim made it onto the street bloodied and shoeless, according to police. A search of the townhouse turned up cocaine, a saw, chicken wire, body armor, night vision goggles, ammunition, and Polaroid photos of the victim with a gun pointed towards his head, according to prosecutors. And multiple sources familiar with the case told NBC New York on Thursday that the gun recovered at the Prince Street home was being looked at by investigators to see if it was previously owned by one of the NYPD detectives placed on modified duty, stripped of their guns and badges. Well, sources said that the weapon is not an NYPD issued gun. That doesn't mean it doesn't belong to them, guys. So who is John Waltz anyway? Authorities believe Waltz is a big-name cryptocurrency trader from Kentucky with an estimated worth of $100 million. Sources said the victim is worth an estimated $30 million. Waltz had repeatedly been renting out the Nolita residence at a monthly rate of $30,000. Wow. If he's a big-time cryptocurrency trader from Kentucky worth $100 million, do you think that he has anything to do with targeted individuals? Inquiring minds like to know. The luxury 6-story pad has an elevator and was described by sources as a high-end frat house with bottles of liquor strewn about and stripper poles in the basement. Neighbors said they could hear loud party at all hours of the night, but they had no idea of the alleged torture going on within its walls. Sources told News 4 that Waltz and Duplessis roughed up the victim in the past, but not to the same extent. Oh, come on, guys. If he was roughed up in the past, why do you want these people as your business partner? Oh, goodness. He would get picked on by the other two, but the treatment of him was not as violent. Sources describe the relationship among the three as complex, with a Wolf of Wall Street frat guys gone wild element to it. I don't know, guys. If you want to read this article on your own, I don't post links anymore to these outside articles, but I'll show you what it looks like here. Okay, next on the list is, I posted a short about the prairie dogs on my property. And, I received a response, and I'm going to pull it up now. 1 second. Of course, my screen is frozen. Okay, let's see. So I hope everybody's doing well. This is going to be a little, maybe another 15 minutes more here. Oh, and I wanted to mention that the loss of power and the loss of internet yesterday, it was approximately 2 hours, but it was very bizarre. Because it happens. It suddenly happened when I was in my bedroom. I see the lights flickering and stuff, and then I come into, you know, my family room entranceway here, and I hear sirens going down the county road or something, or sirens in the distance. And I'm thinking, oh no, it's in one of those street theater things. So when I called the electric company, I kept getting the runarounds. I wasn't able to leave a message or leave an outage. No matter what I did, I couldn't not report that I had an outage. So then I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm the only one who had the actual outage, which is certainly a possibility. And I lost internet today about 4 or 5 times. So here, this is the video, in case you haven't seen it. It's a short from a couple of days ago. A cute prairie dog. Okay? So this is gonna lead up to some very interesting discussion here. About cryptic messages, witchcraft, how I'm being hated on here, which I might go into in this video or another time. So, so one person says, yeah, it's a woodchuck. I believe they're part of the rodent family. They like to chew. So then I get this message from somebody called That Guy Says Hi. And I'll show you. There seems to be some sort of hat, or maybe it's a glove, perambulating around the fairway there. I took that to mean that there is some kind of symbolic hat or symbolic glove on the county road. So I respond, if there is, what does it mean? If there is, what does it mean? So then this guy that says hi says, sheesh. I bet Sitting Bull Shaman didn't get second guessed. He'd say something like, quote, fat fox does not pray for salad, unquote, and all the people would nod and just leave him the heck alone, you know? Walking hat means fire water too strong. Stay with all the pairs of horses in twin barns until sunrise. Running glove is either a sign that you will have a child who will become a beer sommelier at a canna beef restaurant named Fat and Grassy. I don't know. Or my first wife's spells are bouncing off the Ricochet Mountains, laying waste to the majestic and centuries-old popcorn trees lining the banks of the river Splugic in the wild land of knee-walling turkeys before lensing and shrinking the bigger beavers and setting fire to the beavers-only gym again. She's going to lose her narc twitch witch in good standing with the boys in the band. So now, his first wife's spells are bouncing off the Ricochet Mountains. Well, maybe this man has an ex-wife who is participating in what's going on here. And I'm certainly surrounded by mountains. When he talks about the century-old popcorn trees, we've got a lot of poplar trees. Poplar that are all around the place. She's going to lose her narc twitch witch. Narc is a narcissist. Twitch witch in good standing with the boys in the band, meaning her little cult club. However, I harbor no doubt wherever she goes, kind of like the Pope, the local chapter of Harpies Are Us come out like worms to a puddle on their brooms. Caddies, four-wheeled and two-legged dragon, krakens, gremlins, four-wheeled and two-legged, each full member making appropriate screeches of welcome and warning as the locals observe the biannual ceremony of harpy meets. Now, these harpies, these are mythical creatures. They're half woman and half bird with long talons. Some people believe they still exist. That's a harpy. That's the ancient tradition brought from Harpu, the Harpy Island's happy home. It affirms the ancient rock-throwing greeting to strangers. The Harpet brigades of today instead throw symbolic rock-shaped spermicidal sponges. And then he goes on to say, beware fascists bearing grifts. Grifts. At first I thought he said gifts. It says, beware fascists bearing grifts. So anybody who wants to see this in its entirety, you can go to the video, the short from 2 days ago, the cute prairie dog. So I sent this to a subscriber who is very familiar with symbolism, witchcraft, and all kinds of stuff like that. So I sent it to her, and I also have permission to read what she wrote in its entirety. She says here, yes, Lorraine, you do have my permission to share. Thank you for finding my information helpful, and I hope others can benefit from it and not feel disempowered and alone. After I sent you the email, I went outside to take my trash bins inside my garage, and I noticed that the Polish, her perp neighbor upstairs, who's been vandalizing her condo, got inside his work van and drove off. After I was done, she says, I went back outside to ensure my garage door was closed, and the rat snitch loser showed up while parking his van. He pulled down his window and was talking loudly while mean-mugging me. He was speaking in Polish, but I knew he was swearing and cussing at me. I was able to film him briefly, but didn't stay long to avoid giving his perp leverage to income with fairy tales against me. You know how perps are and how quickly they try to fabricate lies and false accusations. Yes, I do. Because even when I filed the truth with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, they falsified the incident report. Well, we don't know actually if they falsified it. It could have been somebody else telling them to falsify or editing it. Because, you know, there are people around here that like to instigate trouble and not speak the truth. She says, on the video footage, you'll hear me say in my Michael Jackson voice, which means go to hell, faggot. Okay, so she's got a YouTube channel. Let's see. Oh, she uploaded the videos. I can't watch them now. I can't open them on my laptop. I'll have to look at my phone. But I'm going to read to you her response to that comment about the harpies. She said, well, I want you to know that I sent my petition for Jessica's release via email. I hope Jessica gets released and receives justice for psychiatric reprisal, being held against her will, and psychiatric kidnapping. This can happen to any of us TIs, and it is serious. As for my targeting, it's gotten worse, and I'm facing retaliation because I've uploaded evidentiary videos of vandalism to my car and my condo, and witchcraft being thrown on my patio. Recently, I uploaded a video of a small blue egg with a hole placed under the gutter. And I also had a clump of dark-colored hair thrown in the area. I noticed a bunch of ants where the items were placed, and I know that Eastern Stars and Freemasons are the culprits. I'm being heavily cursed. And I sense that these curses involve death hexes upon me. Also, the more the curses sent to me are unsuccessful, the sicker and more stubborn the witches and pedomasons become. When I got to pray or meditate, I received strange visions of a group of Satanists gathering around in a circle and looking down at an unalived person or child that they used to SA for their evil and vile rituals. These criminals harm people, children, and animals by sending curses to me, and likely other people who they despise and want to unalive. A day after I found the blue egg, I was in my bedroom getting ready to shower, and I noticed an unalived moth on the floor not far from my Espiritismo altar. This altar I use for general purposes like ancestors and my spirit guides. I rarely ever see moths inside my condo, and I never leave my windows open. And when I do, I have a screen window. A moth represents the death of life, a transition into the spiritual realm, and a nocturnal insect. I don't know if you believe in omens or synchronicities, but I like to pay attention and try to decode or find the meaning in them because that's how spirits communicate with the living. The dead moth was feedback that whatever curses were sent my way was a failure. I also sense that the witches, warlocks, and occultists, some that I used to talk to in the past, who ended up betraying me and joining the dark forces, are falling ill due to the psychic attacks they've been sending me for months. All the evil energies, they are making them sick and weak. The more they curse me, the weaker and sicker these evil witches become. I would never advise anyone to craft curses against their haters and enemies because side effects can harm you in the long run. Focusing mainly on harming others will not only deplete you, but will also lose your divine protection, guidance, and intuition. And in other words, you lose your angelic wings, metaphorically speaking. And you will not receive spiritual downloads because you contaminate your physical vessel with evilness, hatred, and wrath. You pretty much will be in survival mode and outcasted by the divine and function at the same low-level frequencies as the Satanists and Luciferian scum of this earth. The Freemasons and Eastern Stars are allegedly already cursed as enslaved people and have lost their divinity and freedom because they sold their souls to the devil. These evil people will not take their wealth to the grave when their time is up. Oh, and you know, on that note, I just inherently know, and I know from past experiences with police officers who've retired, most of them will never live to spend that alleged pension that they're all waiting for. That's why they're so fragile and vulnerable to ill luck or misfortune when someone in their family decides to not join the cult and seek God or Jesus. These evil people have nothing worth envying, because we don't know how they live behind closed doors, and the glamour is deceiving. I admit that I'm not too familiar with the Freemasons and the Eastern Star Order, other than that they worship the devil and commit serious crimes for their rituals, among other crimes. The only reason I would look into these cults' beliefs and what they are all about is to look for loopholes and vulnerabilities in how to dismantle them, such as the hexes and curses they cast. Oh, you mean like picking it all up and burning it in the fire pit? That works. Right? I think that helps. She says, I've seen all your videos and the witchcraft they throw on your property. You show the twigs and tree branches these losers throw, and I believe that the magic they work with is nature-based. I too find twigs, branches, rusty, bent nails, and now eggs around my patio. Lorraine, I wouldn't worry too much about these nutjob pedophiliacs cursing you, because it looks like they focus way too much on the glamour of their rituals, such as unaliving poor animals and humans, because it gives them that psychopathic euphoria. And the robes they wear, making them feel invincible, like an ego trip, not realizing the harm they're bringing upon their own selves. It's kind of like the radiation and microwave weapons they carry around to attack TIs. While they do, they're also being exposed to the frequencies. This should tell you how illiterate and dumb these idiots are. The bottom line is that the cops program is slowly unaliving both TIs and the perps, the useful idiots. It's a double-edged sword, attacking both sides, but the perps don't realize it. Yet, in parentheses. You sent me a comment somebody posted on your YouTube channel. I had to read it several times to decode or understand its meaning. Since you asked for my opinion, I will respond, and let me know if you agree or disagree with my response. The person mentioned, quote, however, I harbor no doubt that wherever she goes, kinda like the Pope, the local chapter of Harpies R Us comes out like worms to a puddle on their brooms. She says, to me, this part is talking about you, Lorraine, referring to you as the Pope. That's the impression I'm getting. The Harpies are likely your neighbors and the community mobbers, making your presence known to the community. That part, that's the ancient tradition brought from Harpoo. She says, what I'm thinking is that the witches and neighbors, the Harpies in your area, are following an ancient tradition. It sounds territorial when only, quote-unquote, Harpies live and are welcomed. In other words, you're the Pope living in a Harpy land or island. This cult neighborhood army follows an ancient tradition. It doesn't specify of how they treat strangers by throwing rocks instead of throwing rock-shaped spermicidal sponges. Is this person implying that the neighbors are throwing rocks at you? Which is a clear sign of hostility and unwelcoming behavior. Well, actually, no, they drop poopy diapers and poopy toilet paper, which is a projection of who they are. Instead of spermicidal sponge because of your age and being infertile, Lorraine. That's what I'm getting at from reading the comments. Well, yeah, I mean, I've gone through my menopause. I can't conceive children. Thank God, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And I had like a nanosecond of symptoms. I didn't even know it was happening. She goes on to say, it's evident that the message talks indirectly about witchcraft and a community of harpies that follow an ancient tradition that is hostile towards strangers and elderly strangers. If you were younger, they would use spermicidal chemicals to make you infertile, something I heard that the elites and the deep state are doing to people in general. by adding something in the water to cause infertility. This is allegedly, this is for educational purposes only. This was a strange comment, but not something you weren't aware of. You seem to know what is happening in your neighborhood, and you expose it. You expose your perps. I hope you will sell that God-forsaken place and move out of Kentucky. While I'm typing this email, I received a download of an image of a black and yellow retractable delineator. My interpretation of this image is to be cautious. The yellow color and the traffic lights, obstacles. You have a possibility of moving, but you'll be facing difficulties and will be lowballed. Long story short, I saw an image of a warning to be cautious of obstacles in your way. In the meantime, Lorraine, you have decided what your next step will be? I know how frustrating it is for you and how the perps are making your life miserable. I would never advise you to abandon the property because these criminals want you to do that. We should get together to discuss what options you have to create our military of TIs to fight against the atrocities and crimes against us and humanities. So she says, I'm not going to discuss this other part because I think it makes other people uncomfortable. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's her interpretation of the comment that was received. And I will say that this is how I view it. The former owner lived here for 30 years. He passed away at the age of 96 years old. He lived next to some of these people, I don't know for how long, probably a long time. And he also knew the parents of my neighbors because he was that old. Now, all during that time, there was never anything placed in writing. Never anything placed in writing that my neighbors could use my driveway across the street. Maybe it was a word of mouth thing. Maybe it was once in a while. I don't know. But remember, he was 96 years old. He wasn't 60 years old. So at that age, he may or may not have even known that people were trespassing his property. He may or may not have even known. Or maybe he said okay because he just didn't want aggravation. I mean, let's face it, when somebody's that old, they don't want aggravation. He's living here 30 years. He was allegedly a pillar of the community. Everybody allegedly loved him. But everybody around here wanted what he had. They were envious and jealous. It didn't matter that they may have even had more than him. But let's face it, this property was for sale a year and a half before I bought it. They had to have known that somebody not from around here was going to buy it. And in fact, they probably set it up so that a targeted person would live here. So that they continue their sadism, their masochism, their profiteering, their harassment. Because no doubt they harassed Travis Sparks also. There's no doubt in my mind, probably not nearly as much, but as he was getting up in years, they were stealing from him, they were trespassing, they were harassing him, asking him for money, wanted what he had, vandalizing his property, even when he was living here. Not as much as after he sold the property, after the property was sold. Because when I moved here in May 23rd, 2019, and I walked around, they were already starting the vandalism. I already saw the symbols. I already saw them. Etchings. And it just progressed. So again, I didn't know anybody when I moved here. Nobody. If they wanted the property so bad, if they don't want outsiders moving in, they should have bought the property in 2019. But they're a gang-stalking community. And they wanted somebody that they could asset strip, that they could torment to get their sadistic pleasure. They didn't realize that I would get a legal land survey so quickly. They put a little clinker in their little plans But it didn't stop them from harassing me and tormenting me either. And if they wanted somebody, one of their own, they have more than enough fucking kids. They could have pooled their money together and bought the property back then when it was only $125,000. But back then, the grass was 4 feet tall. There was water dripping from the pavilion building, of which I replaced the roof. The mobile home trailer was covered in black mold. I had to take it down. The house that I'm living in didn't exist. My cat's building wasn't here. There was trash everywhere. I cleaned it up. It took me 2-3 years to clean this property. Briars everywhere. I tore down. Trees falling everywhere. I had to chop up. No garden beds. No nothing. No gutters. No solar lights. No water catchments. I did everything when I moved here. And now they're trespassing and vandalizing what I created here? Well, tough shit, people listening. If you losers, with all your land, with all your equipment, if you couldn't afford $125,000, if you couldn't pool your money together, take a loan from the bank to buy this property, then you certainly can't afford it now, no matter what you do to it. And yeah, I know somebody's going to come and lowball me. I have the power of the word no. N-O. Because I've said it before. If I don't get what I want for this property and you keep vandalizing it, I will keep filing complaints. There will be somebody that's going to highlight my story and the news will get out there. And I'll continue to live here until I either get a fucking settlement or get what I want for the property. And everybody's going to know what's going on here. Everybody. So yeah, you little fucking harpies and stuff. You should have bought it when it was affordable to you. It's no longer affordable to you. However, you still can take out a loan. Right? Since you've got all this land, you've got all this stuff. Now you've got a relative that's a sheriff. I'm sure he's making a good salary. Take out a friggin' loan. From what I understand, law enforcement, they get really low interest rates on loans. How do I know? A cop bought my other house in Manalapan, New Jersey. You want the property so badly, you got to buy it for what it's worth. Otherwise, I'm going to cut it up and sell it in parts. And I can do that. I can sell it in parts. Like the 3.1 acres over here, the 1.5 acres across the street. I can sell the property that you're flooding over there, which now I've got proof of what you've done to that property over there and how you're digging up my lands here. That I've got a videotape over the weekends because I just saw what else that they did up on the top of the hill here. So yeah, so thank you so much, subscriber. I'm not going to use your name. Thank you for analyzing that cryptic message about the harpies in the neighborhood. And as I've said before, I'll say it again, if they wanted the property so bad, they should have bought... They knew that Travis was 96 years old. They knew that he was in the hospital. They knew the property was vacant. They had more than 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years, or maybe even before that, to negotiate with Travis, even when he was alive, with his sons. They had years to negotiate the purchase of this property. I believe they deliberately didn't buy it because they knew that they were going to set it up to target somebody, to try to steal it, asset strip the person. And they likely steered me in this direction of buying it. And that's what they do. They also steer targeted people into purchasing properties. So anyway, in the name of Travis Sparks, I hope from my mouth to his spirit, He knows who the traitors are in this community. What this community that he worked so hard to build, this neighborhood, this little Oakwood Acres, that his alleged friends, the neighbors, were all traitors. They speak the forked tongue. Is that what the Native Americans say? The forked tongue? They speak out of two sides of their mouth. Evil. Liars. And when I say that they're going to get theirs, it's not me doing it. The universe knows what these people, evil people, have done. Not only to me. I'm sure I'm not their first rodeo. Whatever they did to Travis, whatever they did to all the animals in this neighborhood, whatever they've even done to each other, because they have. Only the universe knows what these creatures have done to other people. I can only speak about what was done to me here. I can't speak for anybody else except me. So I know that the master of the universe, the energies of the universe, know better what these evil people have done and how they perform their bitchcraft, their witchcraft. I pick it up every day. It's everywhere every day. So guys, you can stop. I know what you're doing. You're trying to prevent me from selling the property, my destiny. You're trying to steal my wealth, my destiny. Well, I'm on to you. It's not my first rodeo. And I will not be selling. I will not be selling to anybody remotely around here. I guarantee there'll be somebody from another state, maybe even somebody from out of the country. Because you know, there are a lot of countries out there, they want to buy up farmland. They want to buy it up here. We're just going to have to, I'm going to have to promote it myself. So I'm going to leave it out there for you guys because I have subscribers in other countries. If you know anybody that wants to buy land, beautiful land, it is gorgeous land, with water, trees, buildings. You can either tear them down, you can either fix them up. 6 miles into town for all the shopping and stuff. No restrictions. You could build whatever you want. You can have any kind of animals you want here. I will pay you a commission. Cash. I will pay you cash commission if you find a buyer that results in the sale of my property. And I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to be lowballed either. So anyway, this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, May 30th, 2025. It's 7:23 p.m. Please leave a comment down below. And I've said an awful lot right now. It's like almost an hour. So we started with the update of my cats. The comment that somebody left about, oh, well, I hope you didn't do something. You didn't inject that cat with something. I would never do that. But you know what? It makes complete sense as to the symptoms that Fluffernutter has and how she's passing them on to her kittens. Popcorn traipsing around the property with new kittens. I don't know who the mama is there. The comment that was left on my short about the groundhog. The cryptic comments that I received in response. And I'll show you again here who was the cryptic comments. By That Guy Says Hi. And what else? Oh, and the response to Jessica's petition and the response from a subscriber about this cryptic message. and Witchcraft. So I hope everybody's doing okay. Leave a comment down below. Share if you're inclined to do so. And I'm going to sign off for now.